Welcome to the RC Roundtable Podcast, where we discuss the latest RC hobby news, events, model reviews, and a whole lot more.
Hey everybody, it's Terry. I'm down here in the basement, and right now I am quite literally surrounded by vintage RC cars, and that makes me pretty happy. And maybe, just maybe, me talking to you about these old toys will make you happy too. So let's give it a shot. The stuff I'm going to talk about today came from an auction that happened back in December of 2024. I'll try to give you the quick version of the story here. This auction took place down in College Station, Texas, and Lee likes to search for online auctions, so he found this one. He's not really into vintage cars, but he knows I am, so he sent me the link, and he said, check this out, and by the way, if you want to bid on anything in this, I'll go pick it up for you. And that's what really clinched the deal, because it would have been out of bounds to try to ship any of this stuff. RC cars are kind of bulky and heavy anyway, and then auction companies find new and inventive ways to jack up shipping costs. So without Lee helping on this, I would not have been able to obtain these items. So thanks a lot, Lee. And I didn't expect to get any of these items in my hands until this July, when Lee visits up here in Wisconsin to go to AirVenture and Oshkosh with me. However, I have another friend, Brad Reinhardt, who lives in the Madison area. He was traveling to Texas on business. He told me he had some extra room in his car and he was willing to haul stuff down there and or haul stuff back. Now, I didn't have things to send down to Fitz and Lee, but Brad did grab these cars from Lee. I met up with Brad a few days ago, and now they're all here in my workshop, and I'm going to tell you about them. Now, the way this auction worked is a lot like other auctions work. Things were combined together, and so I would find a lot with a car that I wanted, and then some other stuff or other cars that maybe I didn't care so much about. But you have to take the good with the bad. And in this case, the bad is still pretty good. So I have some cars I definitely wanted and some other cars that now that I have them, I'm interested to learn more about them. They're still vintage RC cars, so they're interesting to me. So as I get through this stuff, it'll probably be very obvious which ones I'm familiar with and which cars I'm not so familiar with. So I'll ask your help in filling in the blanks or telling me where I didn't even realize there was a blank. So correct me, tell me all the extra stuff. I'm a sponge and I want to learn more about this stuff. So let's get started. And I'm going to start out with the smallest car. It is this. This is a Tamiya Tamtech, which is a 124 scale vehicle, RC. It looks like a static model, but it's actually a radio control car. And let me take the body off here. Now, the bodies are particularly interesting. They're polystyrene, like a static model, so they've got great detail, and they're pretty stout. But this one, being from the mid-1980s, is still, it seems like it's in pretty good shape. Now, we talked about the Tamtechs in a recent podcast episode because my other friend in the Madison area, Phil Hinkle, gave me a complete Tamtech setup with the radio and everything. And it's also mid-1980s vintage, and it still worked. I just put some batteries in it, and I was able to drive it around the shop. Now, this one did not come with a transmitter, so I'm not sure if it works. It appears to be complete, so I suspect if I get the correct frequency transmitter, that I would be able to drive this one around as well. But taking a closer look at the car itself, it's got a little bit of suspension on the rear end. You can see it's got the motor with the pinion and spur gear on there. Foam tires all around. These foam tires have stiffened with age, but they're still in pretty good shape, and none of the parts have chunked off. And on the front, you can see the steering linkages, and this car does have proportional steering. So it's a neat piece. And this one actually came with a spare body as well. So I've got two of these bodies to go on this particular chassis, and then I've got the other chassis as well. So it's a neat little piece of Tamiya history. And those who listen to the show know that I'm not really a Tamiya guy, but they make some cool cars, and this is one example of that. So I'm happy to have this one to go with the rest of the very small Tamiya collection I have. And with that, the next car I'm going to show you is also a Tamiya. So I'm vastly expanding my Tamiya collection here. And here it is. It's got a BMW body on it. Pull that off. And the body is in very good shape. Not sure if it was, well, it's got a little bit of signs of use, but certainly not abused. Get that off. And the chassis is a TA02, which is a shaft-driven four-wheel drive. So if you look here, that's the shaft that goes from the front to the rear, and then the motors back here. But like most Tamiya cars, it has the polystyrene chassis. It seems pretty rigid and stout, but again, I know almost nothing about Tamiya cars, so I'd be interested to learn more from you guys, kind of the racing heritage of these, and see what they were good for. The little research I've been able to do so far, it seems like there were many variants of this made, and I think this first came out in the mid-1990s, and there were variants that had different wheelbases. They came with different bodies. There was an option I saw where Tamiya offered one with a BMW body, but it appears to be a different BMW body. So I think the body I have is aftermarket, or maybe some variant that I just haven't found yet. But it looks like it's in great shape. The tires still have the flash from the mold on there, so I don't know if they have any mileage on them at all. There is a tiny bit of curb rash on the wheels, but really not much at all. It's a car that's in great shape, so I'm excited to have it and learn more about it. The electronics that are in it, it's a Lightspeed. I believe it's a stock motor. It could be a modified. I haven't really dug into it yet. Oh, there's a bearing back there, so it's probably a modified. And it has a Novak 410 MXC speed control, a Futaba, a standard S148 servo for steering, and then some flavor of 27 megahertz receiver. And you can see that they've got this piece of Lexane here where they wrap the receiver around it rather than having a tube sticking up. So yeah, there you have it. The Tamiya TA02, like the other car, I assume if I get a transmitter that mates up to this receiver, this thing's ready to drive around. So it looks good. And you'll find that all of the cars, I think it's all of them, all of the cars have the power poles connectors. Some people call them Lightspeed or Sermos, but they were popular in the 90s, and I think they're still popular today for ham radio hobbyists, maybe even some RC people. I don't know. Now, the one last thing to mention about this car is it did have a little bit of damage. When I got it, the bulkhead that the bumper attaches to had a crack, and then knucklehead me, I picked it up by the bumper and broke it all the way off. So I need to get a replacement bulkhead so I can get the bumper back on. But anyway, a neat little car that I'm interested to learn more about. And, you know, before I go to the next car, I've got another thing here. I mentioned a minute ago that the lots in this auction had varied things in them. One of the lots had the box for a Kyosho motorcycle, and there weren't any pictures of the box open, so you weren't really sure what was inside. So because it was a mystery box, I wasn't willing to bid that much. I bid a little bit because I'm like, hey, great, maybe I can get another Kyosho motorcycle. But somebody else wanted it more, and they won that lot. Now, one of the lots that I did win had the cars that I could tell. And it also had a box with some wheels and tires and other odds and ends. And among those wheels and tires was this, wheels and tires for a Kyosho motorcycle. So I'm willing to bet that these parts actually go with the motorcycle that was in that box. So somewhere out there, there's a person who won that other auction lot and is wondering where the heck their wheels and tires are. Well, they're right here. I'd like to get them to the rightful owner. So I did reach out to the auction house and asked them if they would give my contact information to the winner of the other lot. Now, remember, this auction happened several months ago, so we'll see if they're able to make the connection. I have not heard back from the auction people yet. So if any of you out there know a person who has that box of Kyosho parts, let me know. We'll try to close the loop and get these parts in the right hands. Right, the next car is another on-road car. Now, you'll see I have a mix of on-road and off-road. So if you're not into the on-road stuff, bear with me. We'll get to the dirty stuff later. Here's another nice-looking body on here. This one's a Porsche 911 body in great shape, only moderate signs of use. We'll take this off here and see what lies beneath. And this is another touring car. This is the HPI RS4, and also four-wheel drive, but with a belt rather than a shaft. And I think it's about the same time frame too. These would have been released in the the mid 90s. And I think there are many variants of these, including an off-road version. Yeah, you guys tell me if I'm crazy here. But this was another car that I was aware of, but never owned one, so just not familiar with them. And like that other Tamiya, this one appears to be in great shape. The tires are kind of stiff, but there's not much wear on them. When you look at the bottom of the chassis, it looks like it's in great shape too. There's just a little bit of, there's a few chips on the front edge of the chassis here and again at the back, but really there's nothing to complain about here. Looking at the electronics, this is a Novak 410 M5 speed control, and then a KO Propo 27 megahertz receiver. And the servo is another Futaba S148 standard, nothing special there. It appears to be a fiberglass chassis rather than carbon fiber. There may have been some carbon fiber variants of this. I'm not sure. Oh, and the motor on here is a Trinity Slot Machine 2. Back when I was racing in the early 90s, I used to use the first version of the slot machine in my off-road cars, racing in the stock class. So I guess they later came out with an updated version. And this appears to also be a stock motor. So yeah, a cool little car. It looks to be high quality. The shocks are smooth, and everything seems to be functioning well. So you guys out there, educate me. Tell me what I've got here. And again, I think this one with the right transmitter or a receiver swap is ready to get back out on the road and get dirty. So here you have it, a HPI RS4. All right, the next one, still an on-road car, but a bit older. Here we go. This is a Bolink Invader. And I think this would qualify as a pan car. It's got the flat chassis with the solid axle rear end, ball differential, and the flex plate with a single damper in the back. And what I think makes the Invader unique is the front end. It's got the A-arms with an oil damper on each side. And the A-arms are fiberglass, just like the chassis. And the flex point appears to just be a grommet with the screw through it. But you get pretty good suspension action on this. There's quite a bit of movement. I don't know if you need all that much for on-road, but yeah, it's a neat piece and very unique. The servo here is it's an Aristocraft High-Tech. So I guess at one point, Aristocraft and High-Tech were kind of in cahoots. So this is from that generation. And I think this is a Proline bumper. Oh, a neat thing here. Look at the turnbuckles for the steering. I've never seen them like that before. They appear to be round, so you would turn them with your finger, but they're pretty stiff. I don't know if I could turn them with my finger. The only thing disappointing about this car to me is that it's missing one of the rear wheels, and these are a little bit unique. These are 3-inch diameter and 1.5 inches wide. So I'm on the lookout for Bolink trackers that will fit that profile. And it did not come with a body. I will probably put some sort of on-road body on it, but no, it's in good shape. So I'm excited to have it. And the only other, it's not even a disappointment. This is just what you get with vintage cars, but it's got quite a bit of old servo tape on here. So I'll spend a little bit of time trying to peel all that off. But otherwise, it's a great example of this car, and I'm excited to have it. I've always wanted one because I thought the front ends were cool, so I'm glad I found this one. All right, I think the rest of the stuff I have is off-road, and we're going to kind of transition to that using a car that started out as an off-road car, but somebody modified into an on-road car. So what we have here is an RC10 with a McAllister on-road conversion and some really neat stuff on here. So looking at the front end, the front shock tower is cut down, and you're only using the linkage points there. For attaching the shocks, it's got this extra nylon piece here, and you can see the shocks lay down, and then there's a point a new part that goes on the A-arms to help the shocks lay down there. So really gets a low profile on the front end and a low ride height. And everything here, just looking at it, it's very beefy and well put together. I think these linkage and the ball ends are either Dubro or Rocket City, something like that. It's got the original short A-arms on the front. The bumper is an Andes bumper with the body mounts. Let's see, this servo, another Futaba S148. Let's see, the steering bell cranks, those are RPM. And so let's move to the back here. More of the similar treatment on the back end. Instead of the shock tower, you've got these parts from McAllister where you use short shocks. And in this case, they put Kyosho Platinum short shocks. And upgraded ball links again. The wheels, I'm not sure the brand, but maybe TRC. There's no adapters back here. So whatever foam wheels and tires these are, bolt right to the stock RC10 axles. This one does have the stealth transmission on it and a nice clip-on heatsink. Is that a Trinity part? I'm not sure. Now you can see on top here that there's a zip-tied body mount. That's only because the body mount was loose in the box. So I just zip-tied it on here for now so I don't lose it, but it will bolt right to that transmission brace and hold everything in place great. So interesting thing to me about this car is it doesn't have a battery box, nor does it have holes where a battery box would be. So I'm not sure how they did this with the McAllisters. Did the chassis come with the kit, or was that an aftermarket, a double aftermarket part? So you guys that have used these before, let me know. How did McAllister retain batteries on these lowering kits? And who made the chassis? So this chassis appears that it was drilled for a 6-gear transmission at first. And because the screws for the stealth transmission aren't really countersunk that well, I'm guessing whoever owned this before drilled those holes themselves. I'd have to take the screws out and look at it to be sure, but that's the initial appearance I get. So yeah, I think that's about it for this car. Another piece that I've been wanting for a long time, finally found one. I'm excited to have it. It did come with a body. I guess I left the body over there, but it's a nice, I think a dirt oval style body that fits on here well. And so I think I'll just keep that on here. So yeah, McAllister RC10 on-road. All right, now the next one I'm going to show you is one I was super excited to get. I have a couple examples already, but this one I think is unique. So most of you will know this is a Team Losi JRX2. This is the first version that has the short chassis and the 5-link rear end. And I'm not too keen on all of the specifics of Losi's, but a friend of mine was here yesterday and he said this is an early version because it doesn't have the logo on the motor plate. I'll take his word for it. If any of you out there know about that stuff, yeah, fill me in. So one of the things I really like about this particular example is that it's dirty. So with a lot of the stuff that I restore, my first job is to clean it up and get all the old dirt off. But I'm having a different approach on this one, I think. So let me take the body off and I'll show you. But before I do that, let's actually talk about the body. We can be honest here. It's not a great paint job, but the body itself is in pretty good shape. Even most of the stickers are still in good shape. So, I mean, this thing has survived 30 years like this. So while I have a new clear body that I could replace this with, I kind of like the fact that this one's a survivor and still looks pretty decent. So you'll hear as I talk about this, my approach has been subtly changing to just keeping this one just the way it is now and putting it on the shelf that way. So let me take the body off. You can see what's inside. I've got the wing. Oh, the wing has the Losi wing buttons, which are pretty hard to find these days. So happy to have that. And take this off. This body's a little bit harder because it has those side body posts. And here we go. So everything seems to be here. I've already swapped out the tires. What was on it were the original step pins, and somebody, I guess, had driven it on the street, and they were as bald as they could be. And they weren't glued, so I was able to just pull them off. And I have some old X-Pattern tires that I just popped on there. So that's the only update I've done so far. Everything appears to be stock, except for one exception that we'll talk about in a minute. But looking at the top of the A-arms, you can see that they're dirty. The shocks are dirty. The shock collars and the springs, there's gunk in there. But this doesn't appear to be dust from sitting in somebody's basement or garage for 30 years. This looks like it was just taken off the track. This is clay dust that's in there. Same thing on the back. So it appears that somebody drove this back in 1992, whenever it was, took it off the track, put it on the shelf, and there it sat until it got into my grubby hands. So I kind of like that particular patina that it's given this car now. So my urge is just to keep it that way, all nice and dirty and covered with old clay dust. So now let's talk about the one non-stock part that I see here, and that's the battery box. It has an RC10 battery box, and you would expect with a non-stock battery box like that, if you flip the chassis over, you're going to find some new holes that they drilled in there to mount the battery box. But that's not the case. These are the stock holes that would have been for the Losi box. So I'm guessing that this battery box is held on with servo tape. I don't know. I haven't really dug into it too much. There is a little bit of flex when I move it, so I assume it's servo tape. And like every other part of this car, I'm inclined to keep that just the way it is. So yeah, no electronics included with this one, not even a servo. But yeah. Oh, I guess the other non-stock part would be that it has the dish logo wheels instead of the 5 spokes, which is what would have come with it, this earlier version. But if you go to the track, it would not have been uncommon at all to have the newer wheels and tires. So there you have it, Team Losi JRX2 first version. I feel like I know a little bit about these because JRX2 is the first car that I raced. Not my first RC car, but the first one I ever went to organized racing with. So I do have some direct experience with it. And the only damage that I found on it is the shock collars on the rear are cracked, so they don't stay in place. I think I have a couple spares in my stash of parts, but otherwise I've got some files that I can 3D print replacements, which will be fine for this being on the shelf. So Team Losi JRX2, set that aside. And the next 3 cars I'm going to show you are all different variants of the Kyosho Optima. I already had 3 variants of the Kyosho Optima, but uniquely, the new stuff I got, there's no repetition of the stuff I already had. So without any more chat about that, let's start looking at them. The first one here is not really an Optima, but kind of an Optima. It's the Javelin, which is nothing more than an Optima with a roll cage instead of a body. Now, this is not a re-release. This is an original version. And here's where things get out of my league. I thought in the original Javelin, you could only get them in an orange color. Yes, this one is orange, but it's very obviously been painted. And the color underneath is kind of the seafoam green that the newer re-release of the Optima is available in. So I guess it was available back then too. I didn't know that. But this one's been painted. Like I said, the paint is chipping off. I would like to get it down to this original color, but I'm not sure how to get this paint off without ruining all the plastic here. So it may stay orange. We'll see. The wheels, it looks like they were originally chrome plated and they were painted as well. I'm just kind of picking at it with my fingernail. I can get the paint off, but it takes the chrome off with it too. So I'll have to figure out what I want to do with the wheels as well. The tires are obviously not stock. I'm not sure what they are. Maybe these are Tamiya tires on the front. I'm not sure. The back is even more of a mystery. I don't know. Looking at the sidewall of the tires on the back, they have Goodyear embossed in them. So for a brief second, I got excited thinking maybe they were tires from an early Edinger RC10. But with doing a little research, it looks like the pin pattern is a little bit different from that. So if any of you know what these tires might be, fill me in. The electronics on here, it has a Tower Hobby servo. I don't know the model number, but I assume this is just a standard servo. And it also has the old Kyosho receiver. It's kind of buried under here, so I'll take a picture. But it did not include a transmitter to match that. I happen to have an extra Kyosho transmitter, so that'll look good next to this car on the shelf. and there was no motor in it. Unfortunately, it's missing the spur gear in the gear cover, but this car does have some hop-ups. It has the Kyosho gold shocks. It has the gold anodized Nerf bar and also the gold anodized motor guard in the back. Now, here's a mystery part that I'm hoping you guys can help me with. It has this aluminum rear wing. This is actually aluminum. Was this something that was available commercially, or did somebody make this in their workshop? I don't really know. I don't understand the logic of an aluminum wing because it seems like the first time you roll over, it's just going to crumple like a beer can. But I don't know. I think it looks good with the other aluminum accent pieces that are on here, but I don't know if it's actually a practical racing kit. So I think that's about it for the Javelin. I'm not quite sure what direction I'm going to take it yet. But again, I've wanted a Javelin for a long time because they're so unique. But happy to have this one. All right, and the next car has many more questions than answers, and I kind of like that. So with any luck, you guys will be able to fill in some of the blanks on the questions. What I think it is an Optima Mid. Let me rephrase that, a turbo Optima Mid. The reason I think it's a turbo rather than a standard Optima Mid is because the chassis on the bottom has that bronze type tint to the anodizing, and I think that was a unique attribute to the turbo. You guys fix my logic here if I'm wrong. So again, I think it's a Kyosho Turbo Optima Mid. And flipping it over, you can see that the top plate is not a stock Kyosho top plate. This was made by JG Manufacturing. And looking into things, it appears that JG made lots of parts for the Optima, including an entire kit for lengthening the chassis. And in that case, it would have included a new top plate, as well as a new longer chassis for the bottom and a longer belt and maybe some other parts as well. But because we have the stock bottom chassis, I assume this is just a stock length, the top plate as well. So looking into other features, all of the driveline appears to be here. The belts are working. I don't have the gear cover or the belt covers, but all the parts are there. And the A-arms are Andy's A-arms, front and rear. And an interesting thing on the back, the rear mount here for the A-arms has a feature that allows you to adjust the toe in on the rear. And looking at it, it appears that there's actually a little bit of toe out on the rear at the moment. But who made this piece that lets you adjust the rear toe? I don't know, but it's a neat little part. What else is there to look at? Oh, the obvious homebrew stuff here. On the back, this is just aluminum tube that somebody squished and drilled a hole to make these upper links. It did not survive well. It doesn't work well. And even stranger, on the front, you can see they tried to lock the suspension in place as if these were shocks, and it just crumbled with the first pressure that it saw. So I'm not quite sure what their aim was there, but we'll get that stuff out of there. I'll put some proper shocks and upper links on here and some steering linkages. I guess it needs a bell crank too and some other odds and ends. But most of the car's here, but it will need some parts. And now that Kyosho is making re-releases of the Optima Mid, I shouldn't have any trouble finding the parts that I need. So, yep, here's another interesting bit of trivia, maybe. The guy who designed the Optima series for Kyosho later went to work for HPI. And these are HPI 5-star wheels. And my understanding is that that same designer that designed the Optima designed these wheels for HPI. So while these are not a stock part, it's a pretty simple argument to say that they're a good match for the Optima Mid here. So I'm not sure if I'm going to keep these on here or replace it with some Kyosho wheels. We'll figure all that out down the road. So there you go. Turbo Optima Mid, maybe. And all right, we've got one more Optima to look at, and I think this one is the most interesting. I don't know if it's a standard Optima or a turbo Optima. The wheels make me think it started life as a turbo Optima, but then it changed very drastically. The previous owner added hot trick upgrades. And I don't know how these were offered before. Was it one kit that included all the parts, or did you have to get the different pieces a la carte? I'm not sure, but it has the bottom chassis, it has the top plate and these side rails, the motor mounts here in the back. the shock towers. I mean, almost everything that's stock has been replaced here with these red hot trick parts. Now, when I was racing in the early 90s, I was aware of hot trick components, but I never saw any of them at the track. Maybe that was just regional for me. I was in Florida at the time, so maybe other areas racers used hot trick hop-ups. I don't know. But they seem to be pretty desirable now, maybe just because they're cool and red and nothing else is. Or maybe they actually were used by racers back in the day. I don't know. It's the history of all this stuff that I find interesting. So let me know what your perspective on that is. This still has the chain drive. It was never upgraded to a belt drive. And most of the parts appear to be here. The servo is another one of those Aristocraft high-tech servos. And on that RC10 on-road conversion, we had the short platinums. Here are the long platinums that I assume were its partners on some car back in the day. Now, things get a little strange on the front. Somebody put long RC10 shocks up here with some weird adapters that aren't stable at all. So I'll need to go back and put some short shocks on the front here. I'm also interested to hear about the A-arms on these hot trick hop-up kits. They're anodized aluminum. So in my brain, they would be kind of fragile or at least prone to bending and tweaking. So if any of you out there ran with these, let me know your experience with the durability of these parts. These do not show much wear at all. The chassis has lots of scrapes, but the arms themselves, they're not even scratched up. Well, maybe a little bit in the back, but mostly they're in good shape. So that does not support my theory very well. But I'm interested to hear anyone else's perspective on that. So here we go. I think a Turbo Optima with the hot trick hop-ups. A very unique piece, I think. And that leaves us down to just one more car. And this is a car that was released after I was out of the racing game. So other than knowing what it was, I was very unfamiliar with it. Some of you have already helped me get a little bit more up to speed. But here we go. This is a Team Losi XX4. And this happens to be the World's Edition. What makes it a World's Edition? I only know a short list of that. I think the biggest aspect is the graphite components. So the chassis is graphite, the A-arms are graphite, the bulkheads. So I think whatever molded pieces there are, they have the graphite impregnated versions to make it a little stiffer. So it's a belt-driven four-wheel drive off-road. This one has some neat electronics in it. It's a Trinity D 3.5 motor, and it looks like it has some performance specs on it for this specific motor. The ESC is a Novak Cyclone, and the receiver is a Novak XXL, and the servo is a Futaba S9101, which I'm not that familiar with this servo, but I think it's an actual racing quality servo. Anyway, a neat piece. What I find particularly engaging about this one is that it shows zero signs of being used. It looks like it was built back probably in the early 2000s, never run, and just put on the shelf. I mean, you can't find any scratches or blemishes on the bottom of the chassis or just anywhere. It looks like it was built and for some reason just never used. So I think that's unique among these cars. So yeah, a cool piece. I'm not even quite sure what to say about it. It's not something that I'm sentimental about because I never had one of these back in the day, nor longed for one. But I do appreciate the engineering and the history that goes into this particular design. So yeah, Team Losi XX4. Now, it didn't have a body, but when I won the auction back in December, I knew that I had a XX4 on my hands. So when I was ordering some other bodies from Team Blue Groove, I went ahead and added a XX4 body to it. So somewhere around the shop, I've got a clear body that's waiting to be mounted on here. So there you go. All right, that's all for this lot of my new acquisitions. I think it's a varied, widely varied stuff, and it's all interesting and exciting to me. So again, I look forward to hearing from you guys. Whatever information you can add to my limited knowledge on this stuff, please send me an email, contact@rcroundtable.com, or put a link in the video. Feed me, see more. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you again later. please visit our website at rcroundtable.com. That's where you will find all of our podcast episodes. You can also find a little bit of background information about the show host and leave comments and suggestions about the show. There are links to a few of our favorite vendors and also links to our various social media accounts. Thank you for watching and listening.